Hello, I'm Andie Sophia Fontaine. I'm the editor of Iceland Review. And today in Iceland News Review, we're going to be talking about wind power. We're going to talk about swans, Icelandic swans in the north, Viking toys, and a whole lot more. So let's get into it. First up, alcohol. So Iceland has a very interesting relationship with alcohol. Beer was actually illegal in this country until 1989, but interestingly, hard liquor was not. You could still get hard liquor. And today, alcohol is, of course, legal in the country, but there are some caveats to that. When it comes to the retail purchase of alcohol, you can only get them at government monopoly shops. I mean, apart from bars and restaurants. If you want to get a six-pack or a nice bottle of wine for dinner, you have to go to a state-run alcohol store, which means that beer that you see for sale in supermarkets is not actually beer. It's like 0% to maybe 2.5% alcohol. So caveat emptor there. In any event, that's going to change pretty soon though, because one retailer, Hagkaup, has found an interesting loophole where this is concerned. You see, folks can buy alcohol online, and Hagkaup will allow people to buy alcohol online and then pick it up at their stores. So in this way, you can, in fact, get alcohol from a store that is not under the government monopoly. However, there's an interesting political tension with this. You see, Willem Thorsson, who is the Minister of Health, and he's from the Progressive Party, that's important, make a note of that. He objected to this on public health and safety grounds. And he was overruled by Minister of Justice Guðrún Hafsteinsdóttir, who hails from the Independence Party, saying that, no, this is completely fine, this is completely legal, Hagkaup can do what they want. The reason why this is a political issue is because the Independence Party have been in favor of privatizing alcohol for a very long time, like as long as I can remember, to be perfectly honest. And so the minister hailing from the Independence Party, the Minister of Justice, overruling a minister from the Progressive Party on this matter is not at all surprising. So very soon, savvy shoppers who maybe missed the opening hours will soon be able to, for the opening hours for the government shops that is, will soon be able to purchase alcohol online and then pick it up at the Hagkaup supermarket. So Iceland, as you may have noticed, if there's one natural resource that Iceland has plenty of, it's wind. And yeah, anytime you visit this country, will be extremely obvious, but we've not really made much use of the wind and its potential to be able to create power for us, but that is about to change. You see, Landvirkjun, the national power company of Iceland, that is, they've issued permits for the first wind turbines to be set up in Iceland, to be added to the power grid. Now, there have been experimental wind farms in the past just to see how they would fare, and apparently there have been some okay results with this, because now the plan is to build in Búrfellslundur, which is in South Iceland, some 30 wind turbines covering 17 square kilometers in South Iceland. It's hoped, anyway, that it will be operational by 2026 and generate 120 megawatts of power. And this would seem like pretty sensible, but as elsewhere in the world, wind power is controversial here in Iceland as well. And therefore, it's unsurprising that the Icelandic Environment Association has raised concerns about setting up wind turbines in the south. They believe that the process has been moving way too fast. There hasn't been a really proper vetting and environmental assessment of this project. And so we'll see how things pan out. But if it does, as I said, for sure, if there's one resource we have plenty of, it's wind. So we'll see. While we're waiting on the next eruption in Reykjanes, and hopefully that has not happened by the time you see this video, I'd like to talk about another fascinating way that scientists detect for volcanic activity, and that's water conductivity. Now, this is something I only just recently learned, and I really wanted to share it with you. So, last week, there was some glacial flooding, the river Skálm in particular, which is a glacial river, which comes from Mýrdalsjökull, the big circular glacier in the south of Iceland. And Glacial flooding can be caused by a number of different reasons. It could just be warming temperatures in the summer. They do tend to happen more in the summer. Be heavy rains combined with warming temperatures. But another reason why they could happen is if there is a volcano under the glacier and the magma is beginning to rise close to the surface and it's starting to heat up the ice. That can also cause glacial flooding. And so in order to determine whether or not the glacial flooding is being caused by this, one thing that scientists do is they detect the conductivity of electricity in the water. What they'll do, because the minerals that come from volcanic activity are conducive to electricity. And so if they measure the conductivity of the river water and the conductivity is high, that's a strong indication that there are high levels of these volcanic minerals in the water, and therefore a strong indication of volcanic activity, especially if they detect seismic activity in or around the location where they know there's a volcano under the glacier. Now, in this particular instance, the conductivity of the river water in Skalm, the river Skalm, did raise briefly, but it then descended again. So they don't believe that there was a volcanic cause behind this. How can that be? Well, if the flooding was caused by other factors, such as warm weather and rain, could be that volcanic minerals that are already near or under the glacier were added to the water in the course of the flooding and raised the conductivity of the water very slightly. And I don't know, I just thought this was a really interesting factoid because it just is a testament to how our scientists are using every single tool available to be able to monitor what the earth under our feet is doing at all times. It's why we have such a fast response rate to things such as earthquakes and volcanoes, is because of scientists like this figuring out ways in which we can get a head start on what Mother Earth is going to do next. The population of Iceland is steadily increasing, in part to more people being born in the country, but also due to immigration. But the population fluctuations change region to region. And right now, South Iceland is experiencing a population boom of sorts, where since last December, the population of the region of South Iceland has increased by some 3.1%, which is, nothing to sneeze at. At the same time, in fact, most regions in Iceland have either stayed relatively steady or increased slightly, with one exception, that being Suðurnes, which is the peninsula in southwest Iceland where the volcanic activity is ongoing. That population there actually decreased by 1.3%. Fun fact, though, about the population is the greatest proportional increase in population was in Skorradalshreppur in West Iceland. They saw population increase of a whopping 30.5%. However, there's very few people that live there, and so this translates to an increase of 18 people. The largest decrease was, unsurprisingly, the municipality that had the largest decrease in population was, unsurprisingly, Grindavik. They've lost about 35.8% of their population since last December, and that's equal to about 1,332 people. Now, I want you to remember Suðurnes here as I go into the next stats, which is about unemployment. Now, Iceland's nationwide unemployment for July remained unchanged from June. It's at 3.1%, which is a very low rate of inflation. And it's down from where it used to be in February. The peak was in February, where it was like a 3.9, close to 4% perhaps. But the region with the highest rate of unemployment is, again, Suðurnes, where it's at 5.1%. But that's actually down from 5.4% in June. Why is this? Why is the population of Suðurnes declining? Why is the unemployment rate as high as it is? Well, naturally, the population decreasing can be attributed to the eruptions, but Suðurnes has historically almost always had the highest rate of unemployment in the country. And we can trace this back nearly 20 years to 2006, when the NATO base in Keflavik closed down. Now, U.S. forces had warned the Icelandic government in 2003, like, we're packing things up, we're about to head out, we're about to go. But for whatever reason, the government at the time didn't really respond to this. And in 2006, the inevitable happened, the base closed, they left, and one of the largest employers in the region effectively left the country. and the peninsula has not yet fully recovered from it. Things have been changing, of course, with the tourism boom, but as it is right now, with the current situation of the eruption, it's going to take some time for this region to recover. So when you land in Iceland, I highly encourage you to explore this region. It's a beautiful part of the country. It really is. It's one of the youngest parts of the country, geologically speaking, too. There's a lot you can see and a lot you can do there. Very friendly people. Definitely stop and check it out instead of just going directly to Reykjavik. Hello, how are you? I don't have any food for you, but... So next up on Iceland News Review, swans. There's been some research that they're conducting on swans in Flotsheiði in Þingeyjarsveit, which is in North Iceland. It's been underway. They do this every year for the past 43 years now, and it turns out swans are not only very long-lived, but they also have very long memories. You see, the person who leads the research, Sverre Thorstensen, he's been doing the research of these swans for the past 43 years now at Hrafnstaðaselstjörn Pond in the region. And what they typically do is they get into an outboard motor and they head out on the pond and they use a pole with a little hook on the end, and they just kind of hook them around the necks and pull them into the boat, and then they wrap them in these straitjackets. I'll link to this news article in the description. I'll be linking to all the news articles in the description, but I'll be linking to this one in particular. I want to direct your attention to this one in particular, rather, in the description, because the video that accompanies this of how they gather these swans just has to be seen to be believed. Anyway, they don't hurt the swans in doing this, and as you see in the video, they're pretty calm about this entire thing. But Sverre has pointed out that there's one swan in particular that runs away from him every time he shows up. Like, if this swan sees his car pulling up, the swan will just fly off somewhere and hide for the duration. And so he has to arrive in a different car every time he shows up in order to avoid being spotted. What do they do exactly? Well, they weigh them, they measure them, they make sure they're all healthy. Some of them are tagged with sensors to follow their movements, because swans typically do their wintering in Britain and then come back to Iceland in the spring. And the swans this year, I'm happy to report, have all been in very good condition. They're all very healthy and doing well for themselves. He's a star. Look at him pose. I want to include a little note here. So this is Tjörnin Pond, and this is a very popular spot to see ducks, swans, as we just saw, and other forms of aquatic life. And I highly encourage you to visit this place and, of course, feed the birds, but do not feed them bread. It is bad for them. When they digest the bread, it changes the flora of the pond, and it also tends to attract seagulls who can eat ducklings, actually. I only just learned this. So when you do come to visit them, give them stuff like grapes and a salad. It's much better for them, and it'll help keep the pond healthy, keep the bird population healthy, and keep just everything going well. Don't use bread, please. Okay, so that PSA aside, our last story here in Iceland News Review is about ongoing archaeological excavations near the East Iceland village of Seyðisfjörður. You may remember they had some landslides there not too long ago. Fortunately, no one was injured or worse in those landslides. There was extensive property damage, but part of the result of these landslides is that archaeological excavations there have uncovered some really interesting things. The most recent discovery, what you'll see on the screen now, is this toy. It is about 5 centimeters long and 2.7 centimeters wide, and it's carved from volcanic tuff, which is a kind of soft volcanic rock. It's extremely well preserved. And Ragnheiður Traustadóttir, who is the director of the excavation in Seyðisfjörður, it said that there's some disagreement as to what this animal is exactly. Is it a bear? Is it a pig? Is it maybe even a dog? You take a look, you be the judge, and you tell us in the comments what animal you think this is. It doesn't appear to serve any practical function, doesn't appear to be a tool of some kind, so it's believed that it is a toy, just simply a child's toy. Now, they've been doing these excavations in East Iceland since 2020, and they found a lot of very well-preserved artifacts there, dating from between 940 and 1100 CE. Some of the things that they found in East Iceland include a bead, which features the colors of the Icelandic flag, which probably doesn't date back that far because the Icelandic flag, as we know it today, is more of a 20th century thing. But they've also found game pieces and pearls on the farmstead of Bjolfur, who was an early Icelandic settler. When it comes to Seyðisfjörður itself, one of the most amazing discoveries that they made was 70 chess piece fragments that were made out of rock crystal that were dated between 940 and 1000. 940 and 1000 CE, excuse me. And if you know anything about Icelandic people, this is a pretty funny discovery because Icelanders are traditionally very passionate about chess. There's been a lot of chess grandmasters in this country. And so this discovery is really fascinating because it shows that this passion for chess goes back possibly over 1,000 years. In total, some 600 artifacts have been found in Seyðisfjörður this summer. There was a lot of people who populated Seyðisfjörður and East Iceland in general over time. And so you can definitely be expected that there's going to be many more things that will be found in the course of these excavations. So stay tuned. That's all we have for you this week on Iceland News Review. I'm Andie Sophia Fontaine. I'll be on vacation next week, but I'll see you the week after next. Thank you for watching. Be good to each other.